Hey guys, these are 5 sim racing accessories that I cannot live without. I'm Daniel Morad, professional GT driver and sim racer, and through my time sim racing, there's around 5 accessories that I've narrowed down where I just literally cannot drive without them. They're key necessities for me, and when I've tried removing them from my sim racing experience, I've just felt naked. So we're gonna go through 5 different sim racing accessories that I personally cannot drive without, and number 5 will actually surprise you. And I don't want you jumping through to number 5. We're gonna go one by one through my first accessory all the way to the 5th one, so make sure you stick around for that 5th accessory. You may have seen it before on my Twitch feed. If you're actually not following my Twitch already, I live stream 3 or 4 days a week when I'm around, if I'm not away at a racetrack. So make sure you follow that, twitch.tv/moradness. But we're gonna go over to the rig now. We're gonna look at the first accessory that I cannot live without. The first accessory that I can't drive without, I mean, I could drive without it, but I choose not to drive without it. It's the bezel free kit from ASUS. And essentially what this is, it's a light refractor panel. It blends the light between your monitors. So I'm using a triple monitor setup. It's a triple 32-inch monitor setup. And for me personally, that's the perfect blend between performance and reality. I love the 3 panels because I can see my surroundings. I can see what's happening beside me when I'm racing especially, so I can get really close to cars and have a little bit more racing awareness. And those light refractor panels just help me be a little bit more immersed in the action rather than having a black bezel in your frame. And I know it's not necessary, but it's something that really helps connect me with reality a little bit more and connect me with my real racing. So I enjoy using them. I've tried without them. I did notice them when I was driving. At one point they went away, but you still notice them as you track your vision through the apex of a corner, especially if you're in a tight hairpin corner, you'll notice that black line, that harsh black line. When you have the bezel free kit, it just seems to blend right away. And I personally enjoy them a lot. Like I said, 32-inch monitors, these aren't adapted for 32-inch monitors. They're meant for 27-inch at the maximum. So I had to get a little creative, and I found some double-sided tape, 1mm thin, really thin tape, taped to the back of the bezel free kit and stuck it directly to my monitor. Of course, it could cause damage, and I don't want to be responsible for any damages that you guys may cause, but for me, I found that it was okay on my screens, so I just stuck them directly to the screen, and it works like a charm. Let's take a look now at my second accessory that I personally can't drive without. I just need to take the steering wheel off quick to get a better view of the second accessory. The second accessory that I love to drive with, and it's something that really helps me while I'm racing, it takes the pressure off actually having to adjust through my settings and adjust pit stops or any information that I could just use with a quick preset, would be a Stream Deck. I know it's a pricey button box option. You can go with any button box, but having some sort of panel where you can preset controls or commands to your sim. Well, for my instance, I'm using iRacing mostly, so I could hit a quick preset button and adjust fuel value based on the race. If I'm doing a shorter race and I only need 10 liters of fuel, I can hit a button where I hit 10 liters of fuel. If I need to make quick adjustments of 1 or 2 liters, I can quickly do that with my steering wheel, but at least I get in the ballpark. Nothing's worse than going from 120 liters and needing only 10 in the car. You're gonna be clicking forever on your steering wheel or whatever control you have to adjust your information. So I love that in terms of what Stream Deck can offer you. You have panels that are illuminated. You can preset them to whatever you want. You can even customize the buttons, and it's just really easy for me. You can change tires with it. You can clear your black flags, which I do a lot. If I'm in my hosted sessions, I'm a bad boy, so don't get in my way. I will punt you. Yeah, tires, fuel, black flags. You can even say thank you to your opponents. Like if you want to have a quick preset phrase where you can do a text chat, you can quickly click a button saying thank you if someone lets you by on track, or anything else if they don't let you by on track. I'll leave that up to your interpretation. You can tell me what you say to your opponents in the comments below, actually. But I mean, that's what Stream Deck's great for. Not only is it a streaming tool, but it's also something you can use for when you're racing to help take the pressure off as an engineer driver together. The third accessory that I truly feel naked when I don't have it on is, and before you guys rip me apart in the comments, it's the D-Box. It's the motion platform. I know it's not like something that is common that people would have at their disposal, but there are cheaper options. And the thing specifically that I'm more referring to is the haptic feedback, the vibration, the texture of the road. You don't need a $10,000 system to feel that. You can use something as simple as like a haptic feedback motor or a low frequency motor, like it's a speaker essentially, and you can bolt that to your seat. There's options like butt kicker out there that are a little bit less expensive. That's what I started with personally. I had a butt kicker on my original rig. That's an accessory that I got after buying steering wheels, and pedals, and all that good stuff. And honestly, it really helped me. I enjoyed it because coming from a real car, going into sim racing, I want as much feedback in my body as possible. It's something that it's probably the most difficult thing to transition to. From a real car into a sim, you have no senses. You're using your eyes only. You have no sense in your body. You're just sitting there stationary in your pretend race car, and you have no true sense of speed. With the vibration in your seat and your rig, it just gives you another level of immersion where you feel more connected with the sim or the game. Is it a sim or a game? I don't even know. It's a game. You guys need to let me know if it's a sim or a game. But yeah, just having that extra level of haptic feedback helps me so much, and it helps me connect to my real car. So when I go into my real car, I feel one step closer to the real thing. Let's move on to my fourth accessory that I now cannot drive without. The fourth accessory that I can't drive without is it's a little bit of a shameless plug because it is my own company, and there's a good reason why we made these. It's racing gloves, sim racing gloves and karting gloves. And also, eventually we created sim racing socks, and I'll explain why these are so important for me. I've tried sim racing without gloves, and I just found that my hands got way too sweaty, especially with a direct drive motor, with a stiff steering wheel with a lot of feedback. Your hands sweat, you're gripping the wheel, I wouldn't say hard, but you're gripping it a good amount so it's not falling out of your hands. And if you squeeze something for too long, then, you get sweaty. So the gloves really help prevent you from sliding on the wheel, and also it's really good for personal hygiene. You don't get your equipment dirty. I started using my Nomex gloves, my racing gloves, and I just found that they weren't really built well enough to sustain the amount of driving that you would do on a simulator. And it's a lot more than in real life. When you're driving in real life, you may be driving, 2-3 hours a day for 2 days, 3 days, every 3 weeks. But for me, or for most sim racers, you're on the rig. Think about it, you're on the rig all the time. Maybe 2-3 hours, 4 hours a day if you're lucky. I know some people may have more time. Some people are on for 12 hours a day, and that's reflected in their skill level that they've acquired. And some people might be able to only go 1 hour a day, but regardless, wearing gloves has been a game changer for me because I've been able to hold the steering wheel with a good grip and not slide around. And in terms of socks, you would think, well, you're a real driver, why wouldn't you use racing shoes? And there's a good reason why. Number one, it's way easier in terms of just jumping in and out with socks on. And number two, I just find that on a sim rig, it's a lot, although it's similar to real racing, there are some differences. And I mentioned this earlier with the haptic feedback and feeling connected with the car. No matter how much motion you have, sometimes you have too much motion and it's not great and it can take away from your performance, but you just can never replicate the forces that you get in the real car versus what you get in the sim. So I just find that in the sim, you're more focused on hitting precise values, especially on the very bottom end of your braking. So in terms of low percentages on the pedal, 5%, 10%, you have to use a lot more finesse. And with shoes, I feel like you can't really feel that small amount of pressure on the pedal. Sometimes it's either 20% or none. And I've coached a ton of people online, and that's a problem they've had, and it's a problem I've had as well. So I personally like using socks with cushioning on the bottom, because socks alone hurt my feet. Shoes, I lose the finesse on the pedal, and socks with a little bit of cushioning and grip on the bottom is just that perfect sweet spot where I can be precise and just get the most out of my sim racing. And the fifth accessory is one you may have seen already on my Twitch. It's been removed from my rig and replaced with a different version of this accessory, but nonetheless, the shaft. Everybody knows the shaft. This is something that I can strongly recommend in terms of getting proper ergonomics. And if you've seen my sim racing seat setup video on YouTube, which was extremely popular, it'll be linked in this video. You'll notice that I'm actually using a shaft on my steering wheel from the motor to the wheel itself. And the reason I'm using an extension shaft is because getting in and out of an extruded aluminum rig can sometimes be a little awkward with the side posts connecting the steering motor to the base of the chassis being in the way of you getting in and out. So having this shaft just pulls that motor, the whole unit, away from you and allows you to get in and out much easier. Also, you can now control your viewing distance to the screen. A lot of drivers prefer to be really close up to the screen, but me personally, I'm around 71 centimeters from my eyeballs to the middle of the screen. So I like to have a little bit of a gap between where I'm sitting and the screens. It's just my personal preference. I find that it's a little bit more realistic in that sense to get correct FOV, and that's something I'll touch on in a future video for sure, because there's a big misconception in the sim racing community with what it should look like if you want to achieve ultimate reality. But the shaft is something that I can't live without. That's for sure. I tried without it. It was just a pain to get in and out with that big beam on the side in my way. And for me, I don't use seat sliders because I want to reduce as much flex as possible in my rig. I want it as stiff as humanly possible so I don't have any adjustability. It's for me only. I drive the sim, nobody else. If you want to drive my sim, you got to fit in it. And like I said, shaft. You probably wouldn't expect this, but this is probably the accessory that I realize that I need the most when I'm driving. Hope you guys enjoyed my 5 sim racing accessories that I can't drive without. I would love to know what accessories you guys have that you could suggest to me that I don't have on my rig, because I'm always trying to add new cool things that would add to my sim racing experience. So I'm very interested with what you have in the community. And if you made it to this point in the video, I really appreciate that. This is the first time I think I've said appreciate this video, which is a first for me. I usually say that a lot, but if you have made it to this point, I would very much appreciate, that's the second time, if you subscribed and liked the video, because it would help me so much and help this channel grow. We've only just started on YouTube and the channel has been doing so well, and it's beyond my expectations, honestly. And a huge thanks to all of you watching and supporting. So this is giving me so much motivation to make more videos, and we're gonna be pushing full throttle for much more content connecting real life driving and sim racing in the future.